Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show, Angelic Guidance for Daily Living. I'm Pat Rainville. I am a life, health, spiritual coach, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Carolyn McGee of Ashland Pet Concierge.
Yes, and
who's also an angelic life coach, right?
I am also an angelic life coach. I am an animal communicator, and I am an intuitive healer and teacher. And love doing this show with you every month. It is so much fun.
It's so much fun, isn't it?
It is, and it's so informative too. Like today, what we're going to talk about is an area that I know a little bit about, but I'm really excited about diving into at a different level.
Cool. Yes. And so today, what we're going to be diving into is something that I guess not a lot of people follow on it too much, but
I think a lot of people know the term, but they don't really understand the impact that it has on our energy.
You're right. So we're going to be talking about planetary alignments today, which is a little bit more than just basic astrology, although it does delve into a bit of astrology. Mm-hmm. So, and the reason we're talking about this today is because right now at this time, we have about 6 planets that are in what they call retrograde. And we are in a season where we've had a lot of eclipses. We had the full moon, lunar eclipse. Yeah. We had a solar eclipse. I think there's even another new moon partial eclipse coming up this month. So we're going to talk a little bit about what those are and how that affects us energetically. Because if you watch our show regularly, you know we're very much into talking about energy.
All about the energy.
And how the angels can help us with that.
Right, help us manage our energy.
Exactly.
And use the energy of this of these retrogrades to actually support us instead of feeling like they're dragging us down.
Yeah, because when planets are in retrograde, it brings up I call it the wonky energy.
Such a technical term.
Yes, I know. But it just, it's a time that can feel very confusing. You can feel like there's a lot of disruption going on, and things don't seem to go so smoothly.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I've noticed with retrograde energy is if I try to push, if I try to overcome it, and I don't allow the angels to support me in what's the next right step, divine timing, that I will, instead of going 2 steps forward, it's 5 or 6 steps back. And then I have to just kind of wait until it's the right time to slowly move forward. But it's got to be in alignment with the energy that's out there rather than trying to force my will on what I need to get done.
Exactly. So today what we're going to do is we're going to help you understand that a little bit better. So we're going to talk about what it means when a planet's in retrograde, how that affects our energy, especially with the different planets, and how we can best work with that energy. We'll give you our best hints and tips for that. So,
yay.
So anyways, when planets are in retrograde, you've heard of Mercury being in retrograde. That's a pretty common one that most people have heard about. But right now we have Mercury in retrograde. We have the planet Mars in retrograde. We have the planet Saturn in retrograde. Uranus is about to go retrograde
tomorrow. Yes, early in August, and Neptune.
Neptune's also in retrograde.
And Pluto.
So that's a lot of planets in retrograde.
So 6 planets.
When a planet is retrograde, it has the appearance to us, from our perspective, of going backwards on its path. Now, no planet truly ever goes backwards on its path, but in its orbit, from, as we look at it, if you think of it as going around in a loop, okay? As it comes back around in that loop, to us it looks like it's going backwards rather than forwards. So, and it just brings in different, aspects energetically. Now, Mercury is usually only retrograde for about 3 weeks or so, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Okay. Other planets have longer times in retrograde. They can be retrograde for months. Like I think Uranus or something is going to be
about 4 months.
Yeah. So depending on how that planet, generally astrologically, is known to oversee
certain types of energy.
Yeah. It affects that energy in a way where it slows things down. When planets are in retrograde, so you mentioned that, things just slow down. And it's like if you are energetically in tune, it almost feels like the energy just gets very thick. And things just don't seem to move forward. There can be a lot of delays that happen.
Yeah. It's almost as if you're walking against a tide, so things just become a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
You can get there, but it takes a little bit more work.
Exactly. So when planets are in retrograde, no matter what planet is in retrograde, it's always been my understanding, I was taught by my teacher, that it's best to think of the prefix re, R-E. Okay, so when planets are in retrograde, especially when Mercury's in retrograde, it's a really good time to relax, revitalize. It can be a great time to reorganize or redo something, redecorate, or just review and reflect on your life, your relationships. You can review your finances, things that you normally think to do of when you're slowing down and just kind of resting. Yep. On the flip side of it, it can cause a lot of frustration when you have to reschedule things. When you get rerouted in traffic.
You have to repeat things.
When you have to repeat things, you'll have to resend emails. When Mercury is in retrograde, Mercury is a planet that oversees contracts.
And communication.
Communications, electronics. So it's generally thought of as not being a good time to sign a contract, to buy a new electronic device or appliance. You just have to be really careful of your communications and how you're expressing things. Or
easy to be misunderstood.
Yeah, misinterpreted. Make sure all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed. Double check with people. This is how I understand this. What you mean by the, things like that. So, the other planets I'm not as, I have some idea. I mean, I know Uranus is considered to be the planet of surprise. Unexpected things that come up out of nowhere, things along those lines. So.
Yeah, and the research I did was it's also all about freedom. Mm-hmm. So when it's in retrograde, we need to be a little bit more cautious about, what are we pushing against? What are the boundaries that are coming up here so that it's an opportunity to learn. Because sometimes we self-impose boundaries too, and they may not really be there. Mm-hmm. So, that reflection that you were talking about.
Yeah. And when planets are in retrograde, especially in conjunction with eclipses happening, it can bring a lot of things that are underneath the surface. It can reveal a lot of things. Sometimes it can be good things, happy, surprising things that get revealed. Other times it can be not so nice. Now, like right now, you're seeing a lot of political upheaval and revealings going on, and that is probably likely very much going to continue,
I would say, through the end of the year.
Yes. So, it can breed a lot of unrest, and if you can know that planetary alignments it's all for the good, ultimately.
Absolutely.
Because we can't really heal something until we see the underlying stuff of what's really going on.
Yep. Yeah, and understand what that energy is behind it. Like, for example, Mars is about motivation and energy and forward movement.
Yes.
So when it's retrograde like it is now, there's this stalling of things and, kind of like an unlayering of what is that true motivation.
Exactly.
And why, what is the truth of everything. So by not pushing to get things done, or by not by allowing that clear communication, you can kind of unlayer everything and see, okay, what is the motivation? And oftentimes too, what people think is behind it isn't necessarily the truth. It's not what their motivation is.
Yeah.
So allowing Mars to open that up for us, we can see, it really doesn't have anything to do with us. It's something, on the other person's side.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it's really not a good time to push things forward.
Absolutely.
There are certainly times when, that energy to push things forward, to make it happen, to, move forward that way can be very good and is the energy that's needed. But when planets in retrograde, like Mars being in retrograde now, it's not generally a good time to do that.
And actually, one of the things that I looked up about Saturn, when it's direct, it's all about hard work and discipline and authority and the energy to move forward. And now we're with Saturn being in retrograde, so it's about allowing.
Yeah.
Instead of that push, and also not allowing ourselves or falling into the trap of rejecting authority just because it's authority. Yeah. And it's an easy energy to fall into when Saturn is in retrograde because it amplifies that need for independence.
Yeah. Retrogrades are really good times to just sit back, reflect, and review on things. But there's fun and funny things that can happen. I just had this, I call this a Mercury retrograde story, because I went down and I was doing a gardening project and reorganizing my garden, redoing my garden, which is a great project, right? So I felt guided to go down. I went down to Home Depot, found everything I wanted at great prices, loaded up my car, and I also found this great, bistro set that I thought, oh, that'd be perfect for my porch, blah, blah, blah. So, but at the time I couldn't fit it in my car because my car was already loaded up and I don't have a big car. And so I went over there and it was on sale. It was the floor model, and I went up and I said, hey, could I get like extra money off of this because it's the floor model? And they're like, oh, sure. They took like $45 off of it for me. I said, well, I'll have to come back and get it later. I'll have to return and get it. And so they were fine with that. They're like, oh yeah, as long as you pick it up by 10 o'clock tonight, no problem, what have you. I went home, unloaded my car, did a few other things, went back to the store, and it was nowhere. It was like it had disappeared into thin air.
So they sold it to somebody else?
They sold it to somebody else, or they put the sold sticker on it, and some maybe less than honest person came in, saw the sold sticker, and walked out of the store with it, because I don't know that they keep that much of a watch on their inventory there. But anyways, it was just, I was like, oh, that's a classic Mercury retrograde. It's like the trip that you plan that goes nowhere, or something that it just, stuff doesn't solidify with some things during Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, and learning how to be patient. I've got a great one too. I've been working on doing this online class for animal communication, and there's a lot of steps in order to have that all done. So I spent most of the day yesterday on my computer and doing, step one, and then as soon as I went to step two, then there was a problem with the link between step one and step two, and then I finally got all the pieces put together, and I put it out online. And a mentor of mine messaged me, and she said, did you double check the name of the class that you're using? And I'm like, is it yours? No, it was a basic class, so I was using the term 101, which is really not copyrighted, but it's something that she uses in all of her work. And I am highly associated with her. So, out of honesty and integrity, I immediately went back and redid everything.
Yeah.
So it's just this not having that energy and that discipline, right, with Saturn, of completely checking everything, because if I'd been really thinking about it, I would have double checked that, but I didn't. So
you ended up having to redo it.
I had to redo it all. And I had already posted it, so I had to go back and redo a whole bunch of links. But it ended up fine. I love the new title I came up with, but it was this process and going through it step by step. And actually, Pluto is all about self-analysis, which I thought was really interesting with this, because I had this moment of, oh, I cannot believe I didn't do that. And then I'm like, it's all perfect.
Yeah.
Because I ended up someplace where I really love, where I probably wouldn't have gone there if I had just started with, I need to find something else.
Yeah.
So it's all part of that unlayering and the processing.
And, I find too, with that whole self-analysis piece, that during this time, what I find is that there's a lot of old feelings that will resurface.
Oh, yes.
Even things that you may think that you've gotten over, have gotten past. There might be some little piece of it, and it'll resurface. And so, and working with the angels, because our show is about angels. Yep. I just tend to sit with that. It's a good time to sit and review it and really face it and look at it.
Allow it.
Acknowledge it.
Witness it,
and
pull in that support.
Ask the angels for help to get you in touch with your true feeling, what the truth is about it. Yeah. I mean, the angels will always show you the truth that you're spirit, and that, you're God's holy child, and to treat yourself gently and things like that. So they help you kind of get clear with and back in that peaceful space about it. Yep. At least that's way I've been, as feelings come up, it's kind of like, why is that there right now? What do I need to review about this? Yeah,
what do I need to know? And the last one is Neptune, which is about intuition and introspection. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
that we're being given these opportunities to take a look at things and heal old wounds. We all. It's a layering, especially if things really impacted you on a deep level, to be able to kind of go back multiple times and kind of pull off almost like an onion. You're taking the next layer off. What is it that we need to heal about this particular thing?
Yeah.
I've got a high school reunion coming up, and
I just had mine.
And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be there. But just the connection and the Facebook group with all the people, and reconnecting on Facebook with some people has been fascinating, because it's been unlayering some of this crazy teenage stuff that happened when I was in high school all these years ago.
Yeah.
And it's another opportunity to heal and to let go of some of that, the old tapes, the old ways of looking at things.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I just had my reunion as well, and it was a blast. I'm so glad that I made the decision to go to it. But yeah, it brings up old feelings, and you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to feel awkward? If there's unfinished business with somebody you had from back then. Yep. But this retrograde time is a good time to look at that and just say, I was younger, I was immature, I was really insecure about myself. I forgive myself, I forgive them. And one of the great angels that you can work with is Raguel, the Archangel Raguel, because he harmonizes relationships. So he can help if you ask for their help and then just let it go. Yeah. The nice thing is you don't have to worry about figuring out yourself, how can I right this relationship or make peace with it or what have you, and they'll usually have some kind of intervention.
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about working with the angels with that is that you don't need to actually reach out to the other person. So, you're working with the angelic realm and that divine energy, and you're working with the higher aspect of the other person.
Exactly.
So there's a release of whatever it is that's out of balance between you and this other individual or individuals, but you don't need to directly connect with them. It's all done energetically, and then you may find an opportunity to, in person, connect with them.
Yeah, I mean, unless like your own guidance tells you to do that, unless you feel strongly compelled to reach out to that person. But no, a lot of times it doesn't necessarily have to happen.
It doesn't, but it just feels like there's a lightness around it that it shifts the energy.
Exactly.
Of it all.
Exactly. But reunions are a thing that happens a lot during Mercury retrograde, because it's that whole thing.
Yes.
And it does work out. It's a reconnecting with people.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's and it feels so powerful. Mm-hmm. And it's a return of energy to us.
Yeah.
By letting go of those things, especially from high school. It's an interesting time.
So I mean, with all these planets in retrograde and all this celestial stuff going on, it's really from the bottom up, really providing an opportunity for major healing at a personal level, at a global level, in our countries, in our world environment. There's a lot of things that need to be healed. There have been things that have been, status quos that have been in place for a long time that, it's really time for them to fall away.
Yes.
And, that sometimes only happens on a worldwide level through upheaval, and so these planetary alignments are bringing it all up to the surface. So, as best you can on a personal level is not to get too wrapped up in it, I guess is the word I would use. It's like you can be the calm in the storm of all the drama that's going on around you.
Yes.
So
Good.
Should we pick some angel cards or do a meditation? Or
I'd love to do just a real quick meditation. And the archangel that I am being guided to pull in is Archangel Uriel.
Okay.
He works with the energy of the earth and the bedrock and the stones. So it's very foundational.
He's a weather angel too. I think he affects the weather.
Affects the weather, that's right.
He can, yeah.
Yeah, so if we just ask him to come in and join us and help us feel more connected to the earth. With all of this energy going on, it's possible for us to get too much in our heads or get too much in this feeling of the energy instead of being grounded into Mother Earth. So let's just imagine that we're standing outside in whatever place is best for you, whether it's in the ocean, on grass, in the sand, on top of a mountain, really connecting in with that energy of the earth, feeling Archangel Uriel's completely supporting you, standing at your back or in front of you, above you, below you, to your sides, buffeting you from all of this energy that is around, knowing that no matter what you need, you have a very powerful guide. That you can reach out to him and ask him for guidance. He truly is the wind beneath your wings and has your back. So breathe in for a moment and feel his strength. Feel the solidity of his energy as you connect even deeper with the earth, wiggling your toes as if you're sinking your feet in just a little bit deeper, becoming more rooted, more connected, more grounded. And know that you can go back to this feeling of deep connection at any point in time. Just ask Archangel Uriel for that presence and connection. And so it is.
So it is.
Yay.
Yeah, he's an angel of the intellect, too. He helps you to remember things.
Mm.
He's healing, too,
Yeah,
in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very powerful. I love working with him.
I got his card when I was pulling earlier of claircognizance. Pay attention to thoughts and ideas that come to you as they're answered
that fits
prayers.
right in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who've you got?
Let's see who's coming forward here. Okay. I don't even know how to pronounce this. This is a gemstone. These are my crystal decks. Chariot?
Yeah. It looks like that's beautiful.
It is. So this energy is all about spiritual protection. You're being watched over and protected physically, emotionally, and energetically. Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful, deep purple stone, which is highly connected to the crown chakra. And then there's a really beautiful fire energy, too, which is all about the earth. Mm-hmm. So it's connecting heaven and earth and being able to feel safe in our bodies. And I think that's pretty powerful for this time that we're in right here.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part of it, feeling safe now. Because, there's a lot of Earth-related events going on.
Yes.
There's volcanoes, there's earthquakes, and there's very severe climactic things going on. So feeling
there was
safe.
A tornado warning in Ashland.
I know. I know.
So
just the other day.
All of these shifts going on and changes of things that really can make us feel out of control if we don't ask our angels for that support to feel safe in our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, feel safe and in our homes and in our world. Mm-hmm. And so that we know what to do when. If there's a need for that. But so call on them for protection. I mean, we've talked about Archangel Uriel, but we've also talked about Archangel Michael many times
before, yes.
Anytime you're feeling unsafe or fearful, call on Archangel Michael his protection and guidance. He's always a good, powerful one to call on.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we got time for another one. Who else wants to come out and play for you?
I'll call on Michael, because we were just talking about him, so. Michael, what are your messages for us? Ooh, okay. Admit the truth to yourself and act accordingly. And lean on God and the angels for support.
That's great. And that's a unicorn, too, so we got a little bit of magic going on there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I find when this card comes up, it's often about being very just honest with yourself about your feelings, your real feelings, and being willing to admit that to yourself. Sometimes we don't want to admit certain feelings to ourselves because of how it appears, or how it makes us, because of an idea or a belief that we have about it.
Right, so we feel vulnerable instead.
Yeah.
But often it's our vulnerability that makes us so powerful.
And I find this card shows up when there's just, if you're going through a very emotional time or just a very difficult, stressful time, it's just indicating that we all need support sometimes, and we need that. We all need that now.
Yes, everybody does.
Yes.
We need to be supported for us and to support each other.
Yeah, and to really lean on the spiritual realm and trust in. It's kind of a real let go and let God time.
Yes, I would completely agree with that.
Because things are beyond our control. What did you get?
And what I got is this
Sun.
beautiful little card. It's called the Sun. It's from the Fairies deck. But what's really standing out for me is there's a frog here, which is all about transformation. So this is the time that we're going through where it's an opportunity to look at ourselves. You can also see in the card that he has his reflection there.
Yeah.
So it's a time for self-reflection and, what do we see in ourselves that maybe we want to change? And what do we see in ourselves that we haven't acknowledged as a strength? Oftentimes we're so wrapped up in what do I need to change? How am I failing? It's a good time to also look and say, this is what I'm really good at, and then amplify that.
Yeah.
And take that and move that out into that energy of transformation.
Exactly.
For ourselves and for the world. The
and
people
trust
that we love.
You're being supported through that process.
Yes, absolutely.
Most definitely.
Right.
So I hope we've given you lots of, good, helpful information about this time here today. And just remember, it's about relax, take things slowly.
Take it in that divine timing instead of trying to push.
Yeah. And if things fall away, I was looking at something the other day that I was just telling you about earlier that said, even if if something appears to fall away or you get rejected, sometimes rejection can be protection in its own way. So, sometimes things fall away because they need to, and it's okay. So it's a real go with the flow time. If you get frustrated, just give yourself that time to take a time out. Relax, unwind, take a few deep breaths, be patient with it.
And know that it's all for our highest good. No matter what's happening, it really is to make us happier, to make us stronger, and to make us more connected.
It can be hard to see it in the moment.
Absolutely.
When you're very frustrated. I know I've had times where I've gotten cards that said, oh, this is a blessing in disguise. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're not here dealing with it. I get mad at them initially. But then it's kind of like, ultimately in retrospect, when you look back on it, it's like, oh, yeah, you know what? Thank God I got rejected from that. Or thank God I didn't get that. It worked out better.
Definitely.
So anyways, thank you all so much for watching and for being with us here today. We look forward to seeing you next month. Take care until next time.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye for now.